Hey, it's Steve from MoneySmartFamily.com, and we're in the bathroom today because we have a toilet that's leaking. And what I'm going to show you right now is the simplest way to get all the water out of the tank so you don't have a mess when you're trying to work on the toilet. Real easy. Watch this. So we're talking about how to get the water out of the toilet, and the first step is to go down here and shut off your valve. Now we're replacing all of our valves with this quarter turn shut-off valve. It's a lot easier than the old valves that you had to spin a lot of times. And then you take the lid off the toilet, and we're going to flush. And of course it's not going to fill. And once it's done emptying, I'm going to help it out a little bit. We take the 32-ounce water bottle out that displaces water and saves us money on every flush. Just use a sponge. Soak up as much water as you can. And put it into a bucket. Do it again. And put it in the bucket. Soak up your water, and you're done. What we're going to do is show you how to replace a flapper, and then if that doesn't fix the problem, how to replace the gasket on the fill valve. The fill valve is the pipe that sits in the middle of the toilet. The water goes in and has the flapper mounted on it. Not too hard, just need a couple of tools and some patience. If you've got a leaky toilet, check the flapper first. That's the least expensive part to replace. We just buy real inexpensive rubber flappers, and all you have to do to replace it is clip it on here and here, hook up the chain to the pull handle, and make sure it sits in there. Now, this is an adjustable flapper, and so you can adjust how heavy it sits on the valve. We've got it adjusted at number 10, I think, but you can just rotate it, and that'll affect how hard it seals. Real easy. If that doesn't work after you fill it with water and it still leaks, then you're going to need to look at replacing the gasket right here on the fill valve. And I've already replaced the flapper on this one, and it is the fill valve that's leaking, so that's the next step. And in this case, the fill valve, you know it's a fill valve if every hour or so the tank needs to refill because it's leaking water. It turns on in the middle of the night, and so we've been turning the water off every night, is to come outside the toilet. And right down here, under the toilet, you need to take off the bolts that hold the tank in place. And this shouldn't be very tight, so you just loosen them with an open end wrench. And in this case, there's 3 of them. The next thing to do after you have turned off the water is to disconnect the water feed line from the tank, because you're going to be removing the tank because you're replacing the fill valve gasket, and you're going to want to have this disconnected. And always put a little bucket to catch the drips of water so your carpet or flooring doesn't get wet. So we've got the bolts removed from the tank. Here are the nuts and the washers. And now we're going to take the tank off, and all you do is lift it straight up and lay it down. We've got the water disconnected, so we're just going to lift up and lay the tank down. So now it's on its side. And we're going to work on the bottom. And right here, this is one of the gaskets we're going to replace. We're going to replace the inside and the outside. Okay, with the tank tipped on its side, we're going to take this nut off on the bottom of the tank. And it should only be hand tight. And when I put these gaskets on, I use a gasket lube that I got from my pool gaskets. And I also lubricate the threads on things so that it's just real easy to get things on and off. We have 2 gaskets here, one that was on the bottom, on the outside of the tank, and then one that was on the inside of the tank at the bottom of the fill valve, and we're going to replace both of those. So now we're ready to put the fill valve back in. You start by making sure the gasket's on there, and I always put a little bit of silicone lubricant just to keep the gasket soft so in the water eventually doesn't start to deteriorate. So you put the fill valve in, and I also put a little bit of that silicone lubricant on the threads tighten the nut. It's important to get this snug but not over tight. I've put these on before and not tightened them enough, and you end up with leaking from around the base. Inside the tank, we've got it lined up like that. So there are different tools you can use for tightening this nut. I'm just going to use a pipe wrench. Put it on. I hold the drain valve. Remember, we're just dealing with plastic parts, so we don't want to overdo it. The last thing you do before you put the tank back on the toilet is to put the cushion tank to bowl gasket on, and that just softens the connection and makes sure there's no leaks around the toilet. So now we're ready to mount it up. Right, so the last step is reattaching the tank, and basically I've just set the tank back on the bolts, and the first thing is to put the rubber gasket on so that you don't have a nut or a washer against the porcelain. Then we put the washer, and then we put the nut. And this doesn't have to be really tight because the gasket is going to seal the tank, and you just want to snug it so you don't have to crank on this very hard. And I'm going to do the same thing. I've got three bolts to put on here. And then we turn the water back on. Make sure you put your fill line into the standpipe. We turn the water on. So fixing a toilet can be a little bit tricky because sometimes there are different things that can go wrong, whether it's the flapper or the fill valve gasket or a feed line problem. But bottom line is, toilets are pretty inexpensive and easy to fix, so no need to call a plumber. This is an easy DIY project for a frugal homeowner when they want to get their toilet working and stop the leaks. This is Steve Economides from Money Smart Family. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel, like it, leave a comment. If you have a better way of doing it, we'd love to hear it. And visit our website, moneysmartfamily.com.